everybody, I'm Tom Vassell, and welcome to Week in Review. This is a series of videos we do here in the Dice Tower. We tell you what went on last week on the Dice Tower, and then if you want to see the full videos and things we're talking about, you can check the links in the description below and see the whole thing. So, let's get started. I should mention last week we started with the World Series of Board Gaming, which started yesterday, and it will be continuing on throughout this week. But keep an eye out for those. We're streaming the championship games live here on the Dice Tower. But anyway, here we go. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Garcia. Here's what I did last week. So I reviewed Vale of Eternity, which I gave an 8.5 out of 10 to. This is a really solid card drafting economic game in which you are taking those cards that you draft in a snake draft around the table and either keeping them into your hand, you tame them, and then you can play them in front of you later on for their abilities, or you sell them and then you get money. It has a really interesting system in which you can only have 4 coins, but those values of the coins are 1s or 3s or 6s. So you can have 4 6s in front of you. You don't get change though. So if I pay 4 for something, I need to pay an entire 6 for that. And a few other interesting sort of limitations of that nature that make the game sing. It's very engaging. The theme is sort of Pokemon-esque, so it's not really anything to write home about, but the gameplay is wonderful. 10 rounds of that, tension-filled, some really neat sort of broken feeling cards, which is always fun, and this one is a fantastic game for folks who enjoy trading card game. It's like mechanisms, adjacent to those sorts of things. The other thing I reviewed this week, speaking of trading card games, was the Magic the Gathering starter kit for 2023. And I rate that an 8 out of 10. I think they did a really good job this year with their starter kit. This one is going to be 2 60-card decks. You are going to get in there also the codes for Magic the Gathering Arena, so you can have these decks in Arena and play electronically. But then they give you a booklet, which I thought was pretty robust this time around. I think it's very well done. It gives you a lot of information in the rulebook. The reason that I'm pulling it back a little bit is there's a lot of keywords this time around. They did not go easy on the overhead, the rules overhead. But there's a few interesting things that they're willing to trust new players with. Things like tribal mechanisms. One of the decks is straight up a dragon deck. And I like that. I like that they are saying, these are not dumb decks. They're not decks that are going to stall the game out. These are decks you can finish quickly with. You can make some killer moves in these decks. And I appreciated that. So it got a thumbs up from me. And there you go. That's going to do it. I'll see you on the next one.
Hi everybody, I'm Joey Evans, and these are the games that I reviewed this week. First off, I had Terraforming Mars, the dice game. This is not much more to say. A dice game based on Terraforming Mars. It was fine. It was a dice game. Don't know why it has a reason to exist. I wasn't huge on it. I gave it a 6. All right, next is Vale of Eternity. This one actually surprised me. The artwork's really nice. I like the mechanics as far as like the stones, things like that. This one was surprisingly good. And I say surprising because Tom picked it out. And it was actually really good. I enjoyed this. Gave it a 7. Also, Blind Business. Blind Business is kind of a blind card game where you're kind of picking cards from different people, and it's a bluffing, kind of a double bluffing game. Enjoy this a lot, gave it a 7.5. Then, Shake That City, which is all about the gimmick. It's similar to Quadropolis as far as city building, where you drop these cubes out of this little device. Enjoy that. Good game, gave it a 7. So, wow, there's that kind of a theme here. But now, we go to Trick or Treat Studios. And this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the board game. This is it feels like it's more of a light family weight game, if you can say that with a game called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I did enjoy it. It's a fun, light game, and I give this a 7. So those are the games I reviewed this week.
It's time to review another week. I did a board game roundup or rapid fire roundup where I reviewed a bunch of different games. Make sure to check that out. I looked at a bunch of different cool stuff that other people have looked at, and then I looked at it. Also, that's going to go up on the Encore channel eventually. Make sure to check those out. And then also I took a look at Terraforming Mars, the dice game. I gave this game a 7. I actually enjoyed the game. I know everybody else in the review was not as hot on it, but I kind of enjoy the manipulation, things like that. Maybe if you're not into like a game that's just there's a decent amount of luck with the one time you roll the dice. Some people could get a little bit luckier, but I enjoyed being able to build out those cards, strategize how I'm going to do it, be like, okay, I'm going to turn this die to this side, change this here, be able to get this card out that's going to be able to let me manipulate even more. Maybe I just need to be better at manipulating, but it's a 7 overall, so not the upper echelon of like my favorite games, but I did enjoy my play of it. Anyway, that's what I took a look at this week. I'll see you on the next one.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee, and today I have 3 games for you that I reviewed. The first one is Mech, a Dream. Now, this one I gave a 7. It's an engine builder. You're building these cute little dream engines, and you've got these robots that you're working, and they're working over shifts. So the first worker that you place out is a morning shift worker, and he works all day, all 3 shifts. The afternoon only works 2, and the final one only works 1. So you're kind of trying to decide what you want to do because you have basically a large, medium, and a small action that you're going to do each round. And you're trying to figure out how you're going to lay that in order. And there's a kind of a cooldown for how your machines come out. There's some cool stuff going on. So I liked it. However, I did find that it was really random the way that the tiles came out, especially as you're trying to build an engine. You have a lineup, but you can't afford any of the expensive stuff at the beginning. And if the stuff that's cheap at the beginning doesn't really work for the engine you want to build that game, or that works with what's going on with what you already have, it does slow it down and gum it up a bit. And so you could have one person that has a huge score, does a great job, and then another person that's like, I just never got the tiles I needed. So I think it's fun. I think there's some cuteness to it. I think it's great in a lot of ways. But yeah, I gave that one a 7. The next one is Shake That City. It's got this cute little box machine thing that puts these cubes down on the board, and then you get to choose where you're going to place certain tiles based on how those cubes come out and the formation that they're in. I thought it was fun. It's a very basic city builder, and I think that little like box gimmick thing is great. I think it does what it's supposed to do. It speeds up the process, and for me, 20-minute game, so I gave it a 7.5 because it's just right at that right time level. I think it's not too complicated. It's got enough going on that it's fun. It doesn't blow anything out of the water, but yeah, 7.5. I think it was good. Last one is Barcelona. This one I gave a 9. Super loved it. So it's the next board and dice game that doesn't start with a T. And this is one of those games where there's interaction, but a lot of it's positive interaction. And there's so many things that you can do that you're not going to do it all in one game. So you're like, hey, I want to go focus in on building roads and working on the trolley and doing that kind of stuff. Or maybe later I'll build these civic projects and I'll do these other things. And so there's tons of different ways to get points. It is a point salad game. I love that personally. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And it's one that I could see coming back to time and time and time again because there's just so many different things I can fiddle with and try to work with, while at the same time looking at the board and making decisions based on what other people are doing. So really good stuff there with Barcelona. Gave that a 9 once again. So that is what I reviewed this week. Let's go ahead and see who's next.
After a week's absence, it is Chris time again. I took a look at 6 games this week. The first of which was Terraforming Mars, the dice game. I gave a 5. I found this to be almost fun, but it's so frustrating, the fact that the dice are so random and you can't really build a cohesive engine, and the mitigation of this one is not worth it for me. There's too many other dice-driven engine building games I'd sooner play, so 5 for Terraforming Mars, the dice game, plus it's ugly. Shake That City, I gave a 6. This one, also another one that I almost enjoy, but I find that it doesn't have enough clever moments for me. It does do fun city building things, and I like that there's 2 sides of the map. The little extra module is good, but not good enough. So 6, almost enjoyable. But Blind Business from Devere Games, I give a 7.5. This is a game that's hard to briefly summarize, but basically you're trying to, you have a hand of cards facing away from you, and every player is doing that, trying to make bids, trades with each other, essentially. There's very much a bluff, double bluff. I was really surprised how much I like this one, so check out that review with Joey and I. Mech, a Dream, also 7.5. This is from Blue Orange Games. It is a family weight worker placement game. I think it does enough clever things that even though it's very simple, relatively short, and sometimes a little luckier than I wish, but still, for being so quick and so good, it's fun. I really enjoy this one. Weird look to it, but neat game. A Printing Press, I gave an 8. This is a follow-up to Gutenberg, and it has a lot of the same feel as Gutenberg. I can see the little analogs, the little analogies to it, but it is very much its own game. It's a quicker, smaller game. I think it's almost as fun as Gutenberg, but it's definitely quicker.
Gutenberg sometimes outstaying its welcome. So printing press, about laying cards out, building frames around it, and carrying over those things from round to round. Foregoing other benefits, only carrying over the stuff that you frame. I like that little thematic touch. And then lastly, Barcelona, I gave a 9. Barcelona is the next from the Board and Dice big, heavy Eurogame series, and this one I just find so satisfying. You have so many great things that you're doing each turn, and yet you have so many different considerations. Where are you going to be placing out your workers almost? Think of it, if you think of it as a worker placement game, you're putting workers out, activating rows and columns, and maybe even a diagonal, but also you're doing it for certain placements out on the map. It really comes together, and it feels fresh. It feels different from other games I've played, and while it's complex, it's also clean. So very impressed with that, so a 9 from me.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Delicio, and this week I reviewed the newest title from Japanese publisher Oink Games called Tiger and Dragon. Tiger and Dragon is a shedding game, which you traditionally see with cards, but this is done with mahjong-style tiles. I'm giving Tiger and Dragon a 7.5 out of 10. It's one that I recommend, but you do need to be aware that the game is very, very subtle. It can almost seem like it plays itself the first few times, especially on the introductory scenario that they recommend. But there are some very, very subtle strategies that you start to see develop as you play the game more, as you explore some of those different scenarios. So if you like shedding games, card shedding games, then I think you might have a good time with Tiger and Dragon. All right, well, that's going to do it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so for me, we did a We'll Play It Live, where we played through First in Flight on Monday. Chris and I took a look at a game called Printing Press, which I liked a lot. I gave it a 7.5. It's the sequel to Gutenberg. Not as good as Gutenberg, but it's also a nice small little game. A card-laying game, which I liked a lot. We went through Marvel United Spider-Geddon, which I enjoy. I think it's a very involved set to play for your first time through, but I gave it an 8.5. Shake That City, a little game from AEG with a really cool device, but a little cool device is not a good game make. The game isn't bad, it's just not interesting. 6 is what I gave it because it just meh, as you play this game. We went through Terraforming Mars, the dice game. This one's kind of a mix for me because there's a lot of things. Now, normally I would have given it a 6 because I think it's okay. But I dropped my rating to a 5 because the game should have more than 2 player rates. I'm sorry. It is unacceptable for a modern game to come out with too few player rates. So I dropped my rating to a 5. As it is, it's okay. It takes a little long to get its engine running for me. On the other hand, I took a look at Ark Nova, Marine Worlds expansion. Amazing. Amazing, 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 amazing. I will always play with it. 10 out of 10. Vale of Eternity, another game that I really enjoyed. This one I gave a 9 to. There's just so much involved in this game. But it feels like a very small little card game, but with 70 cards, everything is different. I just had so much fun playing this one. Barcelona, more modern Euro-style game from Board and Dice. There's just something about this one that left me cold. I know I'm in a minority on this one, giving it only a 6. I didn't hate it, but I felt like I was just grabbing points randomly and not knowing where they went. And I did 7 quick game reviews, a variety of stuff from, the highs, which was, what was the highest one in that one? Disney Dixit, gave that one an 8.5, and not many lows. The lowest rating I gave in that review was a 6, so there's some pretty decent games in there. And like I said, we started the World Series of Board Gaming yesterday with Azul, the final of Azul, and you'll see more stuff as we go throughout this week. So keep an eye on the World Series of Board Gaming. Me, Roy, Camilla, and Z will be broadcasting live from there, as well as special guests that you may have seen on other channels on the internet. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be at Essen Spiel in a week from today, too. So this is the last week in review for a couple weeks, but we'll be back, and there's lots of videos going up this week besides all that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I'm Tom Vassell. We'll see you all next time.